The alien queen stood in the highest tower of her palace, her eyes glowing like fire in the dim light of dawn. Her world was supposed to be safe, guarded by soldiers, wrapped in shields of energy, and protected by loyal servants. Yet that morning, the palace halls echoed not with music or ceremony but with cries of fear. Her daughters, the royal twins, were gone. The queen's heart trembled. She stormed through the corridors, her long robes sweeping across the cold floor. Every guard bowed, low, trembling as her sharp voice thundered, "Where are they? Where are my daughters?" No one could answer. The silence burned worse than any blade. Some soldiers avoided her gaze, others muttered about broken locks and shadows moving in the night. A few swore they had seen strange tracks leading out into the desert. The queen's fury shook the palace. Her wings spread wide, her voice echoing to the ceiling. "Search every chamber, every street, every corner of the city. Find them." Messengers raced out like sparks from a fire. The whole capital turned into a hive of panic. Families locked their doors, traders closed their shops, even the skies above filled with search drones. But no trace of the royal daughters appeared. The queen walked into the chamber where her children had slept. The sight crushed her. The silk sheets were torn, the scent of fear still in the air. Two small toys lay on the floor, their edges worn by tiny hands. She knelt, picking one up, and for the first time in many years, tears burned in her eyes. She remembered their laughter, their endless questions, how they would tug at her robe and ask if the stars belonged to them. They were not just princesses to her. They were her hope, her reason to fight. And now they were gone. Whispers began spreading in the city. Some said the slavers had taken them. Others said traders within the palace had sold them for power. But there was another rumor, one no one dared speak too loudly, that a human was seen near the palace wall that night. The queen's people hated humans. To them, humans were scavengers, weak creatures unworthy of the stars. The idea that one of those despised beings could step inside the royal palace was unthinkable. Yet the rumor would not die. It passed through the streets like a shadow. The queen did not trust rumors, she trusted her instincts. And her instincts told her something greater was at work. She gathered her council, great lords and generals seated around her. Their faces were pale. They spoke of sending fleets to every system, of offering rewards, of punishing those who failed. But the queen was not listening. Her mind was on the tiny footprints left in the sand outside the palace. They had been erased quickly, but she had seen them with her own eyes. They did not belong to her daughters, they belonged to someone taller, stronger, and heavier. She clenched her fists. "They are not dead, I would know if they were." Her voice shook the chamber. "They are alive, and I will bring them back." But deep inside her, fear gnawed. The galaxy was wide, filled with dangers, from slavers to pirates, from mercenaries to warlords. Even loyal allies could turn greedy when royal blood was at stake. Days turned into nights, and still there was no news. The palace lights burned without rest. Soldiers searched until their armor cracked, but the trail had gone cold. The queen felt as if she were chasing ghosts, and then came a whisper from the black markets. A trader spoke of two small girls seen, with a cloaked figure far away from the capital. The figure was tall, broad, and carried the girls as if protecting them. Some swore the figure's face was covered, but when the light struck for a moment, they saw it was not one of their kind. It was human. The queen's heart raged at the thought. How could this be? Why would a human dare take her daughters? What game was being played? She stood once again in the highest tower, looking at the endless stars. Her people believed her daughters were lost, but she refused to believe. She could almost feel their breath, hear their laughter, as if they were still alive somewhere, waiting, and far beyond her sight on a forgotten world, her daughters slept safely, their small heads resting against the chest of a scarred human who held them close as if they were his own. The queen did not know it yet, but her enemy was not an enemy. Her daughter's protector was not of her people, not of her empire, but human. And this truth would change the galaxy. The vanishing was only the beginning. The queen did not sleep, not for a single night since her daughters vanished. Her throne room became a war room, maps of the galaxy floating in the air, glowing red where rumors sparked and faded. Fleets were dispatched, scouts vanished into dangerous zones, and the name of the missing princesses spread like fire from one star to the next. Her empire trembled. To lose royal daughters was not just a wound to a mother. It was a weakness shown to every rival. Already pirates whispered of rebellion. Slavers grew bold, and neighboring rulers sharpened their claws. The queen knew that if she did not bring her daughters back, her empire itself could fall. From the glass balcony of her ship, she watched her fleets take flight. Thousands of vessels, their engines burning like comets. They carried her fury across the stars. Each commander sworn to return with news, or not return at all, but news came only in fragments. One fleet searched the desert world of Tarok but found nothing except bones. Another swept the frozen moon of Kelvir, where tracks ended at a cave of ice, and then vanished. A third raided smugglers, dens uncovering only lies sold for coin. The queen's rage turned cold, sharper than steel. "Someone is hiding them," she said, her voice quiet but dangerous, "and I will burn every world until I find who." Her advisors spoke carefully, suggesting patience. But the queen would not wait. She summoned bounty hunters, the most feared in the galaxy, creatures with eyes that saw through walls and machines that tracked heat across light years. She placed a reward so high that even kings might betray their blood to claim it. The search stretched across stars, and still, a single shadow kept appearing in the reports. A tall figure, cloaked, carrying two small children, seen once at a spaceport, seen again slipping into the back alleys of a trade moon. Each time the figure disappeared before pursuit could begin, those who claimed to see his face swore he was not alien but human. The council scoffed. "Impossible," they said. "Humans are weak, poor, and hated. They cannot protect themselves. How could one protect royal daughters?" But the queen did not laugh. Her instincts told her this was no rumor. She had seen humans once, long ago. She remembered their stubborn eyes, their strange will to survive. It was foolish to dismiss them. She sat alone in her chamber, a star, map glowing before her. Her hand hovered over the distant sectors, the forgotten worlds, places her fleets rarely touched. And there, in the far reaches, beyond trade routes, beyond law, she felt something. A pull in her heart, as if her daughters were calling to her. Meanwhile, far away on a broken planet of dust and ruins, the humans sat in silence. The twins slept. Against his chest, their small hands tangled in his worn shirt. He looked down at them, his scarred face softening. He had no palace, no throne, only a ruined shelter and the memory of battles long lost. But when the girls whispered in their sleep, he held them closer. He knew the galaxy hunted them. He had seen the ships scanning the skies, heard the bounty hunters' questions. He had fought men who thought they could take the girls from him. His hands still bore the blood of those who tried, yet he did not see himself as their kidnapper. He was their shield, their wall, their protector, and though he was only human, he had sworn never to let them fall into the darkness. Back in the Yo Queen's palace, every passing day twisted her heart tighter. She no longer showed her tears before her people. Her eyes burned with command, but inside she was breaking. Each night she walked to the empty room where her daughters had slept. She touched the toys still scattered on the floor, whispering their names, begging the stars to return them, and slowly, whispers grew louder. Whispers not of slavers, not of traitors, but of a protector, a man, a human, carrying her daughters as if they were his own blood. The queen's fury wavered for the first time, replaced by something strange, something she had not felt since they vanished. A fragile thread of hope, but hope was dangerous, because hope meant she had something left to lose, and the galaxy, cruel and watchful, was waiting for her to break. The search was far from over. It was only beginning. And soon, mother and human would be set on a path that neither could escape. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The settlement was nothing more than broken stone and rusted steel. Once long ago it had been a thriving mining colony, but now it was only bones of the past, sand covering empty streets, roofs collapsed under the weight of storms. The human walked those ruins as if they were his kingdom, carrying two small bundles wrapped in old cloth. At night, when the winds howled like ghosts, he sat in a ruined chamber where a single fire flickered. The twins lay against him, their tiny heads pressed to his chest. His arms wrapped around them, steady, protective. His scars running deep across his skin looked terrifying to strangers. But to the children he was warmth. They never cried in his arms. They never feared his rough face. To them, he was safe. The human's name was Jace. He had been many things in his life, soldier, fugitive, wanderer, but now he was something new. He was a protector of children who were not his own. When the girls first stumbled into his world, weak and terrified, he had not understood who they were. He only saw two little ones in need, two little ones who clung to him like drowning souls, and he could not turn away. He remembered the first night clearly. Their bodies were shaking from hunger, their breaths shallow. He had shared the last of his rations, torn the bread into small pieces, and fed them with his calloused hands. The way they looked at him after, half fear, half desperate trust, stirred something in him that war had long ago killed. Now weeks had passed and they clung to him like shadows. They slept curled against his chest. They followed his footsteps in the dust, their laughter, faint but returning, filled the empty ruins with life. But he knew the danger. Every day ships circled above, scouts scanning, bounty hunters searching. Once he had seen them land nearby, armored men spreading through the ruins. He had hidden with the girls in an old tunnel, holding his breath. The children buried their faces against him, and for hours he kept them silent, waiting as boots stomped overhead. When the hunters finally left, he whispered to the girls, "You're safe now." His voice was rough, cracked from years of hardship, but the words carried a promise. One, he would die to keep. Jace never told them of his past. He never spoke of the battles he had fought, or the home he had lost, but the truth lingered in the lines of his face. He had once been a weapon, used and discarded. Now he had found a reason to live again, not for himself, but for them. The twins, though young, were not ordinary children. He had noticed the strange glow in their markings, the delicate symbols on their skin that shimmered faintly under moonlight. They carried the weight of something greater, though they did not understand it. Sometimes they whispered in their sleep, names he could not pronounce. A palace, a mother, a world far away. Jace did not know the whole truth, but he knew enough. These were no common children. Whoever hunted them was powerful, ruthless, and would not stop. That meant he had to be stronger. Each day he trained his body, as much as his old wounds allowed. He sharpened his blades on stone, checked his worn blaster, set traps around the ruins. He taught the girls small things too. How to stay silent, how to hide, how to move quickly when he gave the word, but he also gave them moments of childhood. He let them play with broken toys he had repaired. He lifted them on his shoulders so they could laugh at the stars. In those moments, he almost forgot the galaxy wanted them dead. But reality always returned. One evening, as the sky burned red, he saw smoke on the horizon. Another ship landing. Another hunt beginning. He pulled the girls close, his jaw tightening. His heart beat heavy, not from fear for himself, but for the little lives pressed against him. "They'll come again," he whispered, more to himself than to them. "They'll keep coming." The twins looked up at him with wide eyes. One reached out, touching the scar on his cheek, and whispered, a single word in their tongue, a word he did not fully understand, but he knew its meaning: protector. Jace closed his eyes, his grip tightening. For years he had been lost, drifting without purpose. But now, with two small hearts depending on him, he had found his reason. He would protect them, not because it was easy, not because he expected reward, but because they were his now. Far across the stars, the queen sat in her palace, believing her daughter stolen by a cruel world. She did not yet know that on a ruined world, in the arms of a scarred human, her children were safe, cradled not by chains but by a heart that refused to let them go. The galaxy was vast, filled with enemies, but in that forgotten shelter, one human stood against it all, and for the first time in many years, the stars above seemed to watch in silence, waiting for what would come next. The desert winds howled outside the ruins, carrying with them the scent of smoke and metal. Jace knew that smell too well. It was the smell of ships landing. He crouched near the broken wall, peering through cracks at the horizon. His eyes narrowed. A dark shape had cut across the sky, disappearing into the sands. The girls played quietly inside, stacking old stones into crooked towers. Their laughter was soft, innocent. It made the ruins feel alive, but Jace's heart was heavy. He knew the danger was drawing closer. For days now he had heard the whispers. Traders passing through the settlement spoke of bounty hunters offering gold. Raiders muttered about royal blood being sought across every sector. Even the drunks in the shattered taverns whispered of two small alien girls who vanished from their mother's palace. A human seen with them, carrying them like a father. Jace had no illusions. The net was tightening. That night, he did not sleep. He set traps in the sand, wires tied to metal scraps, alarms that would rattle when touched. He sharpened his blade until it gleamed in the firelight. His blaster was worn, nearly dead, but it still hummed faintly when he pulled the trigger. He sat by the fire watching the twins curled up together. They trusted him so completely it broke something inside him. For he knew if he failed, their trust would mean nothing. They would be dragged into darkness, into cages, into chains. By dawn, the first sign came. A sound like thunder echoed across the ruins. Then, silence. Dust rose from the ground. Jace knew that sound. Boots, more than one. He pushed the children gently awake, pressing a finger to his lips. They obeyed without question, their eyes wide but silent, just as he had taught them. He led them into the narrow tunnel under the floor, a place of shadow, hidden by stone. He placed them inside, whispering, "Stay here. Don't move. Don't make a sound." The girls clutched his arm, not wanting to let go, but Jace's voice was firm. "I'll come back for you." When he closed the stone slab above them, the chamber went dark. Their small breaths echoed faintly. In the silence, Jace rose, gripping his blade. His heart pounded, but his mind was sharp. He had been hunted before. He knew how to fight. Through the cracks of the wall, he saw them. 5 figures armored in dark suits, weapons glowing at their sides. They moved like predators, scanning the ruins with strange devices. Their helmets hissed as they spoke. "The signal is strong here," one said. "The children are close." Jace's jaw tightened. They were not simple raiders. These were professionals. They carried scanners that could trace faint energy from alien markings. They would not stop until they searched every corner. Jace slipped into the shadows, moving silently across broken stones. He let one of them step into a narrow passage, alone. Then Jace struck. His blade flashed, cutting the hunter down before he could scream. He dragged the body into the dark, hiding it under rubble. The others heard nothing. They continued forward, scanning, but soon the silence broke. One of them called out, "Blood! Fresh blood!" The hunters turned, weapons raised. Now they knew. Someone was here, someone protecting the children. Jace's heart raced. He ducked behind a wall, bullets of light tearing through the stone. The ruins shook. Dust filled the air. He leapt out, striking another with his blade, his body moving with brutal speed. The fight was chaos, fire against shadow. By the time 2 hunters fell, the others had seen his face. A human. One spat, rage in his voice. A human protecting them. They laughed bitterly as if it were absurd, but the laughter soon turned to anger. "Kill him, take the children." Jace bled, his arm scorched by a bolt, but he stood tall, his eyes burned. "You'll never touch them," he growled. His voice was low, deadly. The battle stretched through the ruins, until finally the survivors retreated, calling their ship with desperate shouts. They had underestimated him, and now they fled. But Jace knew this was only the beginning. They would return with more, stronger, faster. When the dust cleared, he stumbled back to the tunnel, pulling the stone slab aside. 2 pairs of eyes blinked up at him, shining with fear and hope. "You're safe," he whispered, pulling them into his arms. His body was weak, blood dripping down his arm, but he still held them close. His breath heavy, his voice breaking. "I'll keep you safe, no matter what." The girls clung to him, their tiny hands holding tight, and, far away in her palace, the queen heard the first real report. Her scouts spoke of a ruined settlement, hunters defeated, And a human, standing against them, carrying her daughters. The queen's fury cracked into something new, something sharper. Her empire had hunted shadows, but now the shadow had a face. A human face. The whispers had become truth. The fire burned low, throwing faint light against the shattered walls. The queen stood in silence, her daughters still clinging to the human's chest. Around her, soldiers waited for the order to strike, but her lips did not move. She was a ruler of steel, a conqueror of worlds, yet in that moment she was only a mother watching her children choose a shield not her own. Jace's breathing was ragged. His body trembled from blood loss, yet his arms refused to release the girls. He looked ready to collapse, but still held them as if the galaxy itself had to break through him first. The queen's chest ached. She could not understand it. A human, scarred, hunted, broken, had become what her empire could not. Her daughters protect her. The soldiers grew restless. Their leader stepped forward. "My queen, this is madness. He is human. Let us end this." Her eyes snapped to him, burning. "End him?" She repeated, her voice sharp as fire. "And what then? Shall I tear my daughters from the arms of the one they trust most? Shall I kill the man who kept them alive when all of you failed?" The guard froze, his head lowering in shame. The others bowed deeper, afraid of her wrath. Jace raised his head, his eyes tired but steady. "If you want to kill me," he said hoarsely, "do it. But don't punish them for trusting me. I did what anyone should have done. I kept them safe. That's all." The queen studied him. Her heart warred with her mind. He was human, a race her people despised. Yet his words were not lies. His scars told the truth. The blood on his hands was proof. He had fought, not for gain, not for power, but for the lives of her daughters. The twins finally loosened their grip. They turned their faces up to her, their voices trembling but clear. "Mother, please, don't hurt him. He is our protector." The queen's breath broke. Her hands shook as she touched their hair, feeling their warmth for the first time in weeks. Her daughters were alive, whole, safe, and it was because of him. Her gaze returned to Jace. "You could have left them. You could have sold them for riches beyond measure. Why didn't you?" Jace's lips curved into something faintly like a smile, though it was bitter and weary. "Because I know what it is to be abandoned," he whispered. "I wasn't going to let them feel the same." The words struck her deeper than any blade, for she saw in him not a thief, not a traitor, but a reflection of pain, a man who carried his scars like chains, yet still found the strength to protect what was not his. The queen rose tall, her voice carrying across the ruins. "Hear me," she commanded, her soldiers bowing instantly. "This human has done what none of you could. He has kept my daughters alive. He has bled for them, fought for them, and shielded them with nothing but his will." Her eyes swept across the guard, fierce and unyielding. "He will not be touched, not by you, not by anyone. From this day he is under my protection. The protector of my daughters is protector of the crown itself." The soldiers bowed, though unease rippled through them. A human raised to such honor was unheard of. Jace shook his head weakly. "I don't need titles, I don't need protection." His voice broke as he held the girls closer. "I just need them safe." The queen's lips softened into something rare, a smile touched by sorrow. "Then you have it, human, for they are safe, because of you." The twins nestled against him, but for the first time they also reached toward their mother, stretching their small hands. The queen gathered them into her arms, and for a moment the galaxy itself seemed to pause. A mother reunited, a protector standing beside her. Above the ruins, the night sky shimmered with stars, silent witnesses to a truth no empire could ignore. Royal daughters of the queen, found not in chains but resting on the chest of a human protector. In the days that followed, the story spread like wildfire. Across star systems, across markets and courts, whispers turned to shouts. The queen's daughters were saved by a human. Some mocked, some raged, but many listened. For the tale carried power. Jace did not seek fame. He did not ask for reward. He remained at the queen's side only because the twins would not let him leave. They clung to his hands, slept against him at night even when their mother was near. To them, he was more than savior. He was father, shield, and friend. And though the queen's pride resisted, her heart could not. She had gained her daughters back, but she had also gained a truth. Humans were not weak, not worthless, not to be despised. For one human had carried the weight of her empire's future on his, scarred back, and he had not broken. The galaxy had changed. The queen's enemies whispered with unease. Allies looked with wonder. For if one human could do this, what else might humanity be capable of? The legend of the human protector had begun, and it would echo across the stars, forever. The desert night was quiet, too quiet. Jace knew it was the silence before the storm. He sat by the fire, his blade across his knees, the twins asleep against him. Their breaths were soft, their hands tangled in his worn shirt. But his eyes stayed. On the darkness beyond the ruins, every shadow looked like an enemy, every whisper of wind like boots in the sand. The hunters he had fought days ago had not returned. That was wrong. Men like that did not give up. They retreated only to call. For stronger hands, tougher killers. Jace was right. On the horizon, ships cut through the sky like daggers. Their lights glowed red. Engines hummed low, deadly. The ground shook as they landed, not with the reckless noise of raiders, but with the precision of soldiers. The queen had sent her elite, from the dust-marched warriors clad in silver and black armor, their weapons sharp as lightning. These were no common bounty hunters. These were the queen's personal blades, the ones sent only when empires shook. Their leader stepped forward, tall, his armor marked with royal crests. His voice boomed. Through his helmet, "Human, give them to us, you are surrounded, you cannot win." Jace rose slowly, his body ached. His arm still wrapped in blood-soaked cloth, but his grip on his blade was steady. He glanced down at the girls. They stared up at him with wide, terrified eyes. They understood now. This was no small danger. This was the storm that would not pass. He whispered softly, so only they could hear. "Stay low, stay hidden, don't move unless I tell you." The girls nodded, clinging to one another. Jace stepped forward into the open, the fire casting his scarred face into the light. His voice was rough but firm. "If you want them, you'll have to go through me." The soldiers laughed bitterly, one spat on the ground. A human, standing against the queen's guard? But their leader did not laugh, his visor tilted. He studied Jace for a long moment, then raised his hand. "Kill him." The night erupted. Blades of energy clashed with steel. Bolts of plasma cut through the ruins. Jace moved like a shadow, his blade striking with brutal force. He fought with the desperation of a man who had nothing left but the children behind him. Every strike was wild, but precise. Every movement driven not by skill alone, but by will. One soldier fell. His armor, cracking under Jace's blade, another staggered. His weapon shattered, but more pressed forward. Their strength was overwhelming. Jace bled, his body screaming in pain, but he did not fall. He slammed one into the wall, twisting his weapon away. He rolled across the sand, slashing at another. His breath came in ragged bursts. Yet his eyes never left the fire behind him where the twins hid. The leader stepped forward, his weapon glowing with deadly light. He moved faster than the others, striking Jace across the chest. The human staggered, blood splashing across the stones. The leader raised his blade for the final strike. And then a sound froze them all. The girls had stepped out from their hiding place, their voices small but steady. They cried out in their mother's tongue. Their markings glowed faintly under the moonlight. For a moment, even the soldiers hesitated. Jace's vision blurred. His knees buckled, but he forced himself up. He placed himself between the soldiers and the girls, spreading his arms wide. His voice roared, raw and broken. "You will not touch them." The leader paused, his visor tilted again. The sight before him was something no soldier had been trained for, a human bleeding, broken, but standing unshaken, defending royal daughters as if they were his own blood. A silence fell, heavy and strange. Even the soldiers shifted uneasily, far above. In her flagship orbiting a nearby world, the queen herself watched through the eyes of her warriors. What she saw struck her silent. Her daughters alive, standing close to a scarred human, resting their hands on his back as if he were their shield. She had expected a thief, a traitor, a monster. Instead, she saw a protector. Her heart, hardened by years of rule, trembled. The leader of her guard lowered his blade slowly, confused, awaiting her command. His voice echoed through the channel. "My queen, shall we strike?" But the queen's voice came, sharp yet shaken. Wait. The battle had not ended with blood. It had ended with something greater. The question burned in every soldier's mind. Why would a human, despised and hunted, fight with his life for children not his own? And in the ruins, Jace collapsed to his knees, holding the twins close. His chest heaved, his vision dim, but his arms still locked around them, refusing to let go. The confrontation was not over. It had only opened the door to a truth that would shatter the galaxy. The battlefield lay in silence, smoke rising from shattered stone. The air smelled of scorched metal and blood. Jace knelt in the ruins, his chest heaving, his body trembling, his arms wrapped tightly around the twins, their small hands pressed to his chest as if they could keep his heart beating through sheer will. The Queen's elite soldiers stood frozen, their blades lowered, but their eyes locked on him. They waited for the command that would end his life, but the command did not come. From the sky above, a great shadow descended. A massive ship, carved in gold and black, broke through the clouds. Engines thundered as it hovered above the ruins. The insignia of the royal crest burned on its hull. Every soldier bowed low as the ramp lowered. The alien queen had arrived herself. She stepped onto the broken ground, her robes trailing across the sand. Her presence filled the air. Her crown glowed faintly. Her wings shimmered like fire. Her eyes, sharp, burning, swept across the ruins until they found him, the human, bloodied and scarred. Kneeling with her daughters in his arms, her heart stopped. For days she had prepared herself to see them dead, or worse, enslaved. She had told herself she would not break, even if she saw their lifeless forms. But now, before her, they were alive, breathing, clinging not to her guard, not to her servants, but to him, a human. The soldiers looked to her, waiting. "My queen," their leader said carefully, "the thief. Shall we strike him down?" But the queen did not answer. She took one slow step forward. Her eyes never left the sight. Her daughters stirred, sensing her presence. Their markings glowed brighter. They turned, their small voices breaking the silence. "Mother." The queen's breath caught. She dropped to her knees. Her arms opened wide. But to her shock, the girls did not run to her. They clung tighter to Jace. Their small fingers dug into his shirt. Their eyes filled with fear at the soldiers around them. The Queen's chest tightened. It was not rejection, it was trust given to someone else. "Why?" she whispered, her voice almost breaking. "Why would they hold to you?" Jace lifted his head, his face pale, streaked with blood. His voice was hoarse. "Because no one else did." His words struck her harder than any blade. The soldiers shifted. Uneasily, their queen was silent, staring at the human who had dared speak to her so plainly. Jace continued, his arms trembling but his grip unbroken. "They were alone, scared, hunted. I found them. They had no food, no shelter. They cried themselves to sleep. They reached for someone, anyone, to protect them." His eyes met hers, fierce even through pain. "I gave them what I had left. My hands, my life, my blood. That's all I had to give. And they trusted me." The queen's throat tightened. She looked at her daughters, their little faces hidden against him. She remembered their laughter, their questions about the stars. She had believed she alone could shield them. Yet here they were, finding safety in the arms of her people's enemy, a human. Her generals stepped closer. "My queen, this is dangerous. He is human. He cannot be trusted. Give us the order." "Silence." Her voice cut through the air, sharper than any blade. She rose slowly, her gaze steady on Jace. "You fought my soldiers," she said, her tone unreadable. "You spilled blood to keep them from us." Jace's jaw tightened. "Because I didn't know who you were, all I saw were blades coming for children. I wasn't going to let them die." The queen's wings folded tight against her back. Her heart was torn between fury and something she could not name. This man, this human, had stood where even her guards had failed. Her daughters finally stirred. They peeked out from his chest, their eyes glistening. And then they spoke, not in fear but in certainty. "Mother, don't hurt him, he saved us." The words shattered her. Every soldier looked up in shock. The royal twins had spoken their truth before the entire guard, their voices innocent yet unshakable. The queen's breath trembled. Her gaze lingered on the human again. For the first time in her long reign, she felt unsure. She had prepared herself to punish, to kill, but what she saw was not an enemy. It was a protector, her daughter's protector. The ruins fell into silence once more, only the sound of the wind and the fire crackling in the dark. At last, the queen spoke, her voice softer than any soldier had ever heard. "Who are you, human?" Jace lowered his head, exhaustion pressing on him. "No one," he said simply. "Just the man who wouldn't let them go." And for the first time, the queen felt the weight of her empire waver. For her daughters' lives had been saved, not by armies, not by fleets, but by a man her people despised. A human. The revelation was complete. The galaxy would never see them the same again.